The Hornets' ascension is no longer a secret to the NBA community as they are cooking the entire NBA right now. They just blew out the Celtics, didn't even let them score 100 points in Boston, and they are currently sitting at 9th in the Eastern Conference, one game above 500. But don't forget, they started the season 14-26 through their first 40 games. After seeing this amazing stretch, it begs the question, how good are the Hornets actually? Let's first start with talking about the Hornets roster construction and what makes the team so well-rounded. The Hornets top six looks like Con Kneppel, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, Moussa Diabate, and Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now we can see that LaMelo Ball is clearly the point guard of this group, and he is the hub playmaker for the team, and this fits his personal skill sets perfectly. Now at the two next to LaMelo, we have Con Kneppel, who is a three-point specialist and already one of the best off-ball players in the NBA. So off the bat, we have a point guard and a shooting guard whose individual skill sets perfectly mesh with one another when they're on the court at the same time. Next, we have Brandon Miller, who is a 6'10 forward that can shoot threes, create off-ball and on-ball, is a lob threat, and a versatile defender. Put that next to an elite playmaker and floor spacer, and you have yourself a scary offense already. But what are these three missing and that the next two players in the starting lineup need to make up for and be elite at? Well, that would be the dirty work. That is the perfect role for Moussa Diabate. Moussa's natural skill set is playing elite defense, grabbing rebounds, hustle plays, and finding the open man. With LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Con Kneppel on the floor, he's not asked to dribble, he's not asked to score, he's asked to be the enforcer and catch the occasional lob. But Moussa doesn't have to be the enforcer all by himself. Rounding out the starting lineup right next to him is Miles Bridges. And Miles at this point is a seasoned veteran in the league. We all know what he can do, but now with this new role on this team, he's not asked to be the primary scorer or even the secondary or third scorer. He's just asked to be that enforcer defender that catches the occasional lob just like Moussa. And this new role for Miles fits his individual skill sets perfectly, just like the rest of them. Now, after looking at each player individually, when you put it all together, this is what the starting lineup looks like. And the reason why the starting lineup works together so well is because each player is allowed to use their individual skill set and it meshes with everybody else. There's no holes in this lineup. You're not asking Brandon Miller to bring the ball up or even defend their best player. He gets to play to his individual skill set perfectly, and he doesn't have to step outside of his comfort zone. Con Kneppel gets to run around off-ball screens all game, catch and shoot threes because LaMelo is the primary ball handler. You're not asking Con Kneppel to do anything he's not supposed to do. Moussa Diabate just gets to hand off DHOs to LaMelo and Con, get the rebounds and anchor the paint and hit the corner when he's doubled. He's not stepping outside of his comfort zone. Do you see where I'm going with this? The starting lineup highlights every single one of these players' strengths and hides their weaknesses with another player in the starting lineup. So yes, when I heard that this team was 20-2 with that starting lineup, I was shocked, but when I deep dove it just like I did and shared it with you guys, you can tell that it actually makes sense why they are this good. When you have teams with elite players that get to hone in on their individual skill set, and then you put another player next to them that their individual skill set perfectly complements and hides the weaknesses of another one, these are the results you're going to get. But obviously a team isn't just the starting lineup. Let's also talk about the Hornets bench and how they fit in with this team. Before the trade deadline, the Hornets had Colin Sexton, who was the second ball handler behind LaMelo Ball with a shade of extra defense. The GM would cook and get Coby White, which is basically just an entirely upgraded version of Colin Sexton. He has the same skill set, but he's just a little bit better than Colin is. Coby White usually gets subbed in for LaMelo Ball or Con Kneppel, and he is a Swiss Army knife guard that can score and play defense. He is the perfect off-the-bench piece for this team to help guard in certain matchups. Next, we have Ryan Kalkbrenner, who usually subs in at the center position behind Moussa Diabate, and he is the perfect 5. Rebounds, blocks, dirty work, all of it. The only thing that he needs to work on is perimeter defense, but the interior defense is exactly what this team needs when Moussa is not on the court. Next, we have Sion James, who I just talked about in my previous video of watch if you want to get your ball knowledge up, but he is also the perfect guard that can sub in for LaMelo or Con or even Brandon Miller. He's 6'6", he's an athletic freak, he can shoot the three, and he is also a good defender. Again, the third player off the bench that can play defense. Getting even deeper into the bench here, we have Josh Green and T. John Salon. the perfect forwards to bring in for Brandon Miller and or Miles Bridges that can push the pace, play elite defense, and hit the occasional three or fast break layup. And if you want to slow it down and hit more three-pointers if you're in a deficit, you can bring in Grant Williams without having to sacrifice that much defense. Need a spark plug scorer off the bench if Khan and LaMelo are not hitting their shots. Well, you have Trey Mann who can come in as well. I know this season has been a little bit of a down year for him, but we know what he can do if given the correct minutes and shot selection. Now, after looking at the bench unit and comparing it to the starters, it's clear to say that the players on the bench are being brought in for their specific individual skill set. They're not being brought in to do something that they cannot do. It's not a fluke, it's not luck, and it's not rocket science. What the Hornets are doing is they're allowing their players to play to their skills and allowing them to hone in on what they do best on the basketball court. And when you're asking players to just do what they do best, nothing more, nothing less, that's when you get results like this of a bunch of blowouts and a 20-2 record with that starting lineup. Now it's time to ask and answer an even bigger question, which is, what do I think the Hornets will do this postseason? Looking at the current landscape of the East and seeing how the Hornets are only 2.5 games back of the 6th seed, I think it's no shocker if they end up that high in April. Now, if they end as the 6th seed, they would likely play a first-round matchup against the Knicks or the Cavs. Now, do I think the Hornets would win this 7-game series matchup? Well, probably not. But I don't think that's because those teams would actually be better than the Hornets. I just think the Hornets have no playoff experience, and that really does matter when you're going into your first playoff series. I see the Hornets having a very similar playoffs to the Pistons last year against the Knicks when they had a 6-game dogfight where the Pistons would barely lose and also lose a couple games on some game winners. But I do think that this series in their first round would be amazing playoff experience for the team, and I do think they will be coming back next year even better and maybe even end up as a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. The team is extremely young, and they even have a rookie as arguably their best player. Also, Ryan Kalkbrenner, coming off the bench we talked about earlier, is also a rookie. Basically, the oldest player on their team that gets minutes is Miles Bridges, and he's only 27 years old. This is probably the worst we will ever see the Hornets, and they are 20-2 with this starting lineup. Now, am I saying they're an absolute lock to lose in the first round if they make the playoffs? No, I'm just saying that playoff experience really does matter when playing in your first series. We saw it last year with the Rockets as well. I really do think that this Hornets team is absolutely special. It is perfectly crafted to highlight their best players' strengths and bringing in other players to hide their weaknesses. All of the holes are covered on this team, and I will not be surprised if they are in title contention within the next couple of years, maybe even next year.